Hey everybody out there, and welcome to another edition of Jersey Boys Sports Talk. I know it's been a while, but we are back. At least I'm back. I'm here along with Noah Taborda coming at us from Chicago. How you doing out there, Noah?
I'm doing pretty well. Excited to be on the show and excited to talk Super Bowl, NFL awards, and all that.
Yep. So an honorary Jersey boy. He's really from Illinois, but we'll cut him some slack. Snowball's running a little late. He had some work-related activities to do. CB is MIA. So I guess I can really question why they trashed me all last week for not being there. But nonetheless, we do have a whole lot of football to talk about today. We're going to start off with, we have to start off with Deflategate. But before we do, just a couple plugs. Phone number for tonight is 862-400-6461. Send in your text, call in, whatever. Is CB Garrett and Matt Stolboff. Twitter is at JB Sports Talk. You can follow Noah at Noah Taborda. Anything else you want to add there?
Nah, besides that, I think that's basically it.
Yep. Okay, so Deflategate. 11 of 12 footballs against the Colts found under whatever PSI. I'm not one of those people who just goes by. Bill Belichick under some huge heat, following Spygate, all that. Brady says this isn't ISIS, nobody's getting killed. Noah, what's your take on this whole fiasco?
I mean, to be fair, if this was any other team, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but because it is the Patriots, and we, of course, had Spygate, it became a big deal. I don't really have that strong of an opinion on this. I don't think it's a massive deal unless you're Aaron Rodgers, who has a big deal apparently with deflated footballs. But most players prefer deflated footballs. It's not like most players want a really big football. It's easier for the quarterbacks to grip. I mean, it would make it easier for Luck too.
Which is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think the Patriots either way would have won that game. The score difference, I mean, I don't think deflated footballs is going to change that. I think the Patriots were just clearly the dominant team, and this is just another one of the things that people use to bash a team that rightfully won.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's ridiculous that we're making such a... It is a blatant violation of the rules. It is Bill Belichick with the whole Spygate thing. I think more than anything, it shows how the NFL didn't do anything about it, because you're supposed to have the officials on top of that who let the Patriots have the time to do this. It's not like you can just go in the middle of the game and deflate the footballs.
Yeah, I mean, but first of all, I mean, it's like they deflated it barely at all. It was about like a tiny bit.
It's ridiculous.
Obviously. But it's true. The NFL job, that's obviously not their full-time jobs, but you have 5 hours on that day that you have to pay attention to one thing and one thing only, and that is what is going on during that game. Sure, there's a lot going on, but it's not that difficult to do. If you're getting paid, you probably should be doing a good job, especially when there's a spot in the Super Bowl on the line.
It's also true. All right, so I've already had enough of that. I can't talk about Deflategate anymore because it's absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to move on to something less ridiculous. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. Obviously, we all know his struggles in the media, his struggles with the NFL. I love Marshawn Lynch, honestly. So Super Bowl Media Day, all his press conferences, he had a new typical response. It was either I'm here so I won't get fined, or you guys just know why I'm here. Now, Marshawn Lynch tried not to get fined by answering questions with that, but then he did get fined for wearing a non-NFL approved hat, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, that he sells on his website. It was his licensed merchandise. They're saying, I don't know if it was official yet, but they said it could be up to $100,000 fine. But you got to figure he's probably making $300,000 because they sold out that day.
That's a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, to be fair, this is like another one of those like things, just like Deflategate, that's just so like overdone. I don't know why the NFL hates Marshawn Lynch as much as he does. Sure, the guy doesn't like to talk to the media. Sure, he's got a little bit of a personality. But it's not the first time we've had that. It's not like there's one of those guys on every team in the NFL. I mean, you can find one on any team. On any team you look at, there's that big personality that sometimes just gets a little bit out of hand. But the whole beast mode thing, it just seems like they're targeting him and only him. You could find a guy on the Patriots who's doing that. They'd be like, it's not Marshawn Lynch, so what do we care? And that just feeds the fire, I guess, for the Seahawks. That's kind of like their whole motto. People tend to bash them for their personalities or how much they talk about NFL issues or their own issues or game issues, or especially Richard Sherman, of course. And then the NFL just takes that and decides, let's just find them whatever quantity of money because they're the Seahawks or they're a player on the Seahawks. And it's a little bit of babying because you don't see that as much in a lot of other sports. Sure, that probably has to do with the personalities, but once again, I just feel like there are a lot more important things that the NFL could be focusing on right now than what Marshawn Lynch is wearing on his head.
Exactly. And they're also threatening him about his patented crotch grab if he does that in the Super Bowl. It's just totally ridiculous. And honestly, I'm supporting Marshawn Lynch because it's not like for guys he likes, he will give them the real answers. He just doesn't like the idea of being forced to talk. That's his problem. It's not that he won't talk to the media. It's that the NFL is forcing him to talk to the media. So, I mean, the more power to him.
Yeah. That is a good point, though. I mean, Joakim Noah had an interesting thing that happened when he didn't want to talk to the media either. The idea of forcing players is, I mean, I understand why. You've got certain contractual obligations. But once again, if you want to have more interviews, it's probably better if you treat the players right. I mean, just going straight off the fact that the NFL has had a lot of issues with player-league cooperation, it's hard to imagine the players just willingly giving up their time to interview, especially after either they lose or if they're going to get bombarded with questions that are just full of negativity. I mean, I personally, if an interview were to happen to me and it was right after a loss and somebody was going to bring up some negative thing about me, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. And the fact that they make them do that, I understand why they do, but you're not going to have happy players. Players aren't going to go out there and be happy with having to do this. They're not going to give necessarily candid or full answers.
Exactly. And a certain part of the responsibility has to fall on the media. Because if let's say you're in the Seattle Seahawks locker room after a game, win, lose, tie, I don't care, and you want an interview, are you going to go to happy, good guy Russell Wilson, or are you going to go to Marshawn Lynch, who you know is going to give the same answer to every single reporter, and you're going to hear about it later anyway? It's the NFL as a whole is just becoming ridiculous. So I can't even take any of this anymore. So our final little headline before we get to our NFL award predictions is Brady and Belichick. So they've been together for God knows how long. Now, no, if they win, which I don't think they will, do they become the greatest coach-quarterback combo ever?
It's that's a really good question. You know what? I'll say no. I'll say no, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. But considering first of all, now I have to go back to Spygate again. That's going to admire the fact that they also lost twice to the Giants is just going to make everybody go, oh, look, they lost to the Giants twice. How can they be the best? I just don't feel like they are the best. I don't think they've had that same level of dominance that tandems have had in the past. I think that they're great top two probably if they win this. But there's always going to be something that's keeping them out of that top two or the top one.
I'm very tempted to start going on a rant about Terry Bradshaw and Chuck Noll. But I don't know. The Patriots have just been so good for so long. Even if they did lose 2 to the Giants, This would be, their fourth Super Bowl together?
Mm-hmm.
The fourth Super Bowl win if they won? I mean, there's no question they're in top 3 or 5. I think there's a real argument there. Brady, I think he would need to at least win tomorrow to be argued with Montana for greatest quarterback ever. But it's close. I mean, it's not that far away like people think. And Belichick, even if he statistically he's not the greatest coach ever, he's probably the greatest mind to ever exist in the NFL. Just the way he goes about everything. Maybe some of it could be technically deemed cheating, but I still think he's the greatest mind in the NFL. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the NFL honors predictions. I'm going to start off with you, Noah. NFL MVP, I know you want to go with your boy Aaron Rodgers, but will you actually?
Yeah, I'm going to. Look, I think J.J. Watt had an amazing year. I mean, one of the best we've seen in a long time. I think we saw that with Aaron Rodgers, too. Sure, he didn't go out probably the way that we expected him to, maybe picking up the win in the championship game. But you watch him in the regular season, the dominance he played with, you look at the numbers and you say, oh, well, they're not amazing. One of the big reasons is because there were 3 or 4 games where he came out and missed basically the whole fourth quarter. Because why? He didn't need to play in them. They had already blown out the other team, especially at home. Some of the performances they had, and then you go, of course, to week 17, injured. Definitely not even close probably to 100%, probably in the 50 to 60 range. He comes out and wins the game for the Packers over the Lions in an absolutely amazing performance. I mean, you just go to the stats at home. No interceptions on the year at home. The guy was amazing. And just going 5 interceptions total on the year is terrific. And once again, it's just another great year. And whether or not he actually wins it, even if J.J. Watt's more deserving, being in the NFL, I just find it hard to believe they'd give it to a defensive player, even if he were more deserving, which I don't think he is. But it's the NFL. It's always been a quarterback league. And I just want to go back to this point that I heard on Bleacher Report. If you ask the Texans right now, would they trade 2014 Aaron Rodgers for 2014 J.J. Watt? I am willing to bet. I don't have much money. The $80 I have in my wallet right now, that they would do that trade 100 out of 100 times. Because Rodgers would make that team significantly better than Watt can. Because it's a quarterback league.
And I agree with you there, but that's a little bit of an unfair comparison. Because, yes, if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Texans, he would make them 10 times better than J.J. Watt on the Packers. But when you look at the two teams this year, who was more valuable to their team? I think the Packers could have won a decent amount of games with... Who's your backup? Seneca Wallace?
No, right now it's Matt Flynn.
Oh, Matt Flynn. I forgot he came back. Okay. I think they could have won a significant amount of games with Matt Flynn. Obviously not as many as Aaron Rodgers, but the Packers have a lot of good pieces. Eddie Lacy, yeah, he got hurt a lot, but he's a really good piece. The Texans went 9-7. How many different quarterbacks did they have? They had Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tom Savage. They have someone else? But J.J. Watt did everything this year. Everyone likes to talk about the offensive touchdowns. But even if you take away those, he was fantastic on defense. And I think without J.J. Watt, the Texans wouldn't have been competitive this year. They would have finished, at best, I think, with 5 wins. I think that's a huge difference. And they actually, I didn't even realize they came out with a winning record. That's amazing to me. But there's no question in my mind J.J. Watt deserves it. I think you're right, though, that they might just give it to Aaron Rodgers because he's a quarterback. Because that's always the way it's been. Unless some running back, unless AP gets close to Eric Dickerson. But Offensive Player of the Year,